Hey everybody, mel0n here. Well, the day has come. The most controversial mouse release, I think, of this year so far we have seen. We have the Razer Cobra, the wired edition, here to take a look at. Now, this is going to be an interesting one because a lot of people are very upset that Razer has killed off the Viper Mini lineup in favor of just having the Viper Mini Special Edition, which is like 300 Canadian dollars, and there will no longer be a cheap budget version of the Viper Mini shape anymore, which is a big jump for Razer, but maybe the Cobra will impress and actually be pretty good in the meantime. So today we're going to get this guy unboxed and see what's going on with this guy here. Now, I actually never really used the Viper Mini. I was actually never a big fan of the shape. So I'll be kind of taking a different approach this one because I'm just going to be comparing this to other mice, not necessarily just the Viper Mini because I don't have too much exposure to it. But regardless, we'll see how it is. Unboxing so far, pretty straightforward, nothing too crazy. We just have this cardboard thing. I'm definitely not a fan of how the cable is mangled into this box here. I don't know what's going on lately. Every single mouse I've looked at lately always has like a super mangled cable coming out of the box. To be fair, this doesn't look too bad, but it doesn't look great at the same time. Would have rather seen that packaged a little differently, but that's okay. Alrighty, take off this protective covering and we have the mouse itself. Now, initial impressions are, it's very small. I'm just going to kind of give you an idea here. This is the Keychron M3 Mini. So it's about the same size as the M3 Mini by the looks of it here. This is the Keychron M3. Yeah, so I'd say it's about the Mini, probably around the same size as the HyperX Pulsefire Haste 2, which is interesting. It does come with a nice little cable wrap, which is nice, and it does actually still come with a protective USB cover on the end, which is nice. All right, so let's go ahead and plug this guy in and see what we're dealing with here. Cable feels pretty good, though. I will say that. Cable's nice. It feels, let me see. I'm just going to grab my Death Adder V3 here and see how it feels compared to that. I was going to say, it looks like it's the exact same cable as the Death Adder V3, which is nice there, so that's pretty good. Now, in terms of specifications, this is using the Razer 3rd Gen optical switches. It is also using the Focus Pro 30K sensor. However, it is locked down to 8,000 DPI. It is not capable of anything above that, which is a bit interesting considering since it's a 30K DPI sensor, you would assume it'd be a little more powerful than that, but here we are. So this is what it feels like in hand. So it does have all this RGB mumbo jumbo at the back there, which I'm not the biggest fan of. But overall, it doesn't feel too bad. So on the bottom here, you can see we have a central O-ring skate, and then we have two large skate design at the bottom here. Middle button here feels okay, not the greatest. It almost feels identical to the HyperX Haste 2 middle button. It doesn't feel that great, actually. Side buttons are very loud, very hollow. I'm not sure if you can hear. I'm not sure if you can hear these. Very loud and very hollow. They have a lot of post travel, and they're surprisingly hard to click down for some reason. They definitely feel a little odd. And main clicks, the main clicks feel interesting as well. They don't feel like Gen 3 opticals though. Yeah, they don't. There's a huge difference between the Gen 3 opticals on the Death Adder V3 and the Cobra. Yeah, there's a huge difference, actually. I wonder why. These feel a lot more hollow. Like, they feel a lot more... Like, these ones feel... Like, the Death Adder V3 feels really well tensioned, but it feels like there's a good click for it. These feel like they're almost... Like, they're very hollow. That's really odd. I wonder why. Because it's the same switches as the Death Adder V3. I wonder why there's such a difference there. Let's test the scroll wheel. Scroll wheel is actually pretty nice. It actually has a little bit of a texture on it, so it's actually not too bad, but the scroll wheel actually feels pretty good. I'm actually, no complaints about the scroll wheel. It feels very similar to the M3 Minis, actually. Yeah, almost identical to the M3 Minis. Nice tactile hump for the scroll, but still feels pretty okay. Actually doesn't feel too bad. And then the middle click is very weak. It's definitely spammable though. I will say that. It's definitely spammable, but it definitely has a weak click. It doesn't feel like the M3 Mini. If you click the middle mouse wheel down, there's like a nice tactile click for it. This just feels kind of hollow. But again, I feel like a lot of the rest of the stuff about the Cobra kind of feels like that as well. Very interesting. Now, the sides of this and all the rest of it this is a rough texture PCB plastic, so it does feel very reminiscent. You know what this is? This is the coating that was on the Death Adder V3 Pro. I think it's the same original coating. The very, like, it's a rough texture, but it has like no grip. It's the exact same coating, because the Death Adder V3's kind of matte coating, it definitely has more grip than whatever this is, but this is rougher and that's softer. But this has, the Death Adder V3 has better grip, and this somehow has worse grip, which doesn't make a lot of sense. But okay, interesting. Well, the Cobra looks interesting so far. I think definitely so far the weakest part, in my opinion, is the clicks. The clicks feel very hollow. Like, they don't feel particularly good for a mouse like this. And again, this is a budget-oriented mouse, but I'm going to be comparing this directly against the HyperX Pulsefire Haze 2 because it is in the same ballpark and it's same price range, and it has 8K polling. So this is going to be an interesting one to see. But so far, mediocre as of right now, but we'll see if this impresses over time. Stay tuned for a full review in a couple weeks after I do some testing on this guy. Yeah, well, I guess we'll have to see if the Viper Mini truly died for nothing, but we'll see what happens. But anyways, thank you very much for watching. I greatly appreciate it. Again, stay tuned for a full review in a couple weeks. And if you want to watch another video, why don't you check out my review of the Keychron M3. This is another recent mouse I just reviewed that was a really good mouse for a consumer, but not that great of a mouse for an enthusiast, but it's still an interesting watch regardless. So if you want, you can go ahead and check that out. But in the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start testing this guy out and see how this guy performs. Catch you guys in the next one. Peace.